The morning fog hadn't lifted from Lake Tahoe when the 911 call came through. My name is Dr. Rebecca Martinez. The woman's voice trembled through the dispatcher's headset. I just came home and there's so much blood. He's not breathing. Please, you have to send someone. By the time deputies reached the luxury home at 2847 Emerald Bay Road, the woman waiting in the driveway had already rehearsed her story 3 times in the bathroom mirror. Inside the master bedroom, they found Jake Thornton face up in blood-soaked sheets. The 19-year-old had been stabbed 14 times, 8 wounds to his chest, 6 to his abdomen. A half-empty bottle of Camus Cabernet sat in the nightstand between a crystal wine glass. Another glass lay shattered on the hardwood floor, red wine mixing with blood. Jake's hands told their own story. Deep cuts across both palms showed he'd tried to fight back, grabbing at the blade as it came down again and again. An 8-inch Wusthof chef's knife lay on the floor near the bed, its handle still tacky with blood. The room's temperature and the state of the rigor mortis suggested Jake had been dead for 6 to 8 hours, sometime around midnight. Dr. Rebecca Martinez stood in the bedroom doorway wearing black yoga pants and an expensive cashmere sweater. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, but her eyes moved constantly, scanning the room like she was taking inventory rather than witnessing a nightmare. Whole Foods grocery bags sat untouched on the kitchen counter, receipt time-stamped 2:47 that morning. I couldn't sleep, so I went to the grocery store and went shopping around too, she told the first deputy. Her voice shook, but the words came out smooth. Practice. I just got back and found him like this. The door was unlocked when I left. Maybe someone broke in while I was gone? The deputy exchanged a glance with his partner, who goes grocery shopping at 3 in the morning. And the home security system showed something different. No unauthorized entries in the past 12 hours. The only people who'd entered the property were Rebecca Martinez and Jake Thornton. Nobody had left. Outside the driveway sat a black BMW M4 less than 6 months old. The registration showed it belonged to Rebecca Martinez, but neighbors would later tell detectives they'd only ever seen the young man driving it. When forensic technicians unlocked Jake's phone, they found text threads that made everyone in the room go quiet. One message saved in his drafts but never sent read, "If anything happens to me, Rebecca Martinez did it. I'm serious." The tech pointed out something else. Microscopic blood splatter on the sleeve and hem of Rebecca's yoga pants. For someone who claimed she'd just discovered the body moments ago, she had blood where she shouldn't. The pattern suggested transfer splatter, the kind you get from moving through a room where violence had already occurred. Detective Sarah Shen arrived at 7:15. She'd worked homicide for 15 years, long enough to recognize when grief looked too perfect. She watched Rebecca from a distance before approaching, noting how the woman's hands moved, ringing, then still, then ringing again, rehearsed gestures, performed emotion. "Dr. Martinez," Chen said quietly, "we'll need you to come to the station just for a witness statement." Rebecca nodded, but her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. By 8 that morning, they'd brought in Lisa Thornton, Jake's mother. She was a nurse at Stanford Medical Center, a single mom who'd raised 2 kids on her own. She sat in the interview room shaking, unable to process that her son was gone. Jake had money he shouldn't have, she told detectives through tears. A new car he couldn't afford, designer clothes, an expensive watch. He said it was from an internship, but he'd never tell me where. Every time I asked, he'd change the subject. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands and showed them Jake's last text message, sent 3 days earlier. "Heading to the lake house. Wish me luck. This ends tonight." Detective Shen stared at those words. This ends tonight. Jake had known something was coming, and now he was dead. To understand how a beloved teacher ended up standing over a dead student with a bloody knife, you have to go back 3 years. September 2020, Jake Thornton was failing AP chemistry. He was 17, struggling with grades, worried about college. He asked Dr. Rebecca Martinez for extra help. She agreed immediately. The tutoring started innocently, twice weekly after school in her empty classroom, but Rebecca noticed how intently Jake listened, how he made her feel valued in ways her ex-husband never had. After a few weeks, she suggested moving sessions to a coffee shop. Less institutional, she said. Over lattes, she began sharing personal details. Her divorce, her loneliness, how invisible she felt at 45. Jake became her confidant. When he struggled to afford a graphing calculator, Rebecca bought him one, $200 she never asked him to repay. By October of Jake's senior year, Tutoring had moved to Rebecca's home. She poured wine, just one glass, you're practically an adult, and wore fitted dresses instead of teacher clothes. After explaining molecular geometry one evening, Jake said, "You're really beautiful." Rebecca kissed him. She pulled away immediately, mortified, apologizing through tears, but when Jake kissed her back, something broke open inside her. She justified it. He wasn't technically her student when he was in her home. By November, they were sleeping together. Rebecca established rules: delete all messages, never acknowledge each other at school, absolute secrecy. In December, Jake asked for $5,000 for a car. Rebecca agreed, but only if he spent weekends at her lake house. The relationship had become transactional. Through spring, Jake received $8,000 to $12,000 monthly. He showed up to school in designer clothes. When classmates asked, he claimed he worked at a tech startup. Then came the first close call. In March, Jake's mother, Lisa, attended a parent-teacher conference about her son's improved grades. "I don't know what you did, Dr. Martinez," Lisa said warmly, "but Jake's like a different person. He talks about you at dinner, says you really care." Rebecca's heart pounded. Did Lisa suspect? "Jake's special," Rebecca managed. "I'm just glad I could help." Lisa left grateful. Rebecca sat alone afterward, realizing how close she'd come to exposure. On graduation day, Jake ignored Rebecca completely. She watched from the faculty section as he celebrated with friends, never once looking her way. That night, humiliated, she transferred $10,000 to his account. After graduation, Rebecca paid his $15,000 tuition and gave him $2,500 monthly. His demands escalated: laptop, gym membership, cryptocurrency investments. Rebecca drained her retirement and took a loan against her lake house. By April 2023, she'd given him $180,000. That month brought another dangerous moment. At her bank, withdrawing $15,000 in cash, her third large withdrawal that month, the teller looked concerned. "Is everything all right?" the woman asked carefully. "We watch for financial exploitation." "I'm 47, not elderly," Rebecca snapped, hands trembling. "I'm renovating. It's none of your business." She walked out shaking. The paper trail was growing. People were noticing. In late July, Jake texted, "We need to talk. Serious. Come to Lake House." When Rebecca arrived, Jake was already there drinking her wine. He didn't stand, didn't smile. He looked at her like she was nothing. "I need $500,000, he said flatly. "You have 2 weeks or I'm telling everyone at Westfield, you groomed your student. That's prison time." She tried reasoning with him, reminded him of everything she'd sacrificed. Jake was unmoved. He went to bed, leaving her alone with an impossible choice. And that's when Rebecca realized even if she paid, it would never end. For 2 hours, Rebecca sat alone in the living room of her lake house, drinking wine in the dark. $500,000, 2 weeks, or Jake would destroy her life. She ran through the options in her mind. Sell the house? That would take months, and she'd already borrowed against it. Take out another loan? She'd maxed out every line of credit. Refuse to pay? He'd go to the principal, the police, her ex-husband. Her career would end. Her reputation would be destroyed. She'd face criminal charges for sleeping with a minor. And even if she somehow found the money, what then? Jake would come back next month demanding more. Next year, more again. She'd become his permanent ATM, living in fear of exposure for the rest of her life. He owned her now, and he knew it. Around midnight, Rebecca walked to the kitchen and opened the knife drawer. Her hand closed around the handle of an 8-inch Wusthof chef's knife, the same one she'd used to cook Jake's favorite meals back when she'd believed he cared about her. She stood there for a long moment, the knife in her hand, her reflection staring back at her from the darkened window. "I can't do this," she whispered. But she also couldn't not do it. Rebecca climbed the stairs to the master bedroom. The door was open. Jake lay on his back in the bed, shirtless, one arm thrown over his head. He looked peaceful, young, innocent in sleep. She stood over him, knife raised, her hands trembling so badly the blade caught the moonlight and sent shadows dancing across the walls. For 43 seconds, she stood frozen, unable to move forward or back. Then Jake's eyes opened. He saw the knife. His face shifted from confusion to fear. Rebecca, what? She brought the knife down. Jake screamed and grabbed at the blade with both hands, cutting his palms. Blood welled between his fingers. Rebecca stabbed him again, this time hitting his chest. And again, and again. The knife rose and fell, each strike accompanied by a sound that would haunt her, the wet thunk of metal hitting flesh. Jake tried to fight her off, but he was half drunk and caught off guard. His blood splattered on the walls, the ceiling, Rebecca's face. She kept stabbing long after he stopped moving, driven by something she couldn't name. Rage, fear, desperation, all of it mixed together into pure violence. When she finally stopped, her arm aching, Jake lay motionless in blood-soaked sheets. His eyes were still open, staring at nothing. 14 wounds, 8 to his chest, 6 to his abdomen. Rebecca dropped the knife and backed away from the bed. She ran to the bathroom and vomited until there was nothing left. Then the survival instinct kicked in. She stripped off her bloody clothes and showered, scrubbing the blood from her skin and hair until the water ran clear. She bagged her clothes and changed into fresh yoga pants and a cashmere sweater. She didn't realize that blood had sprayed the ceiling in patterns that no shower could reach. She didn't notice the microscopic droplets that had settled on her clean clothes. At 2:30 in the morning, she drove to the 24-hour Whole Foods and bought groceries she didn't need, establishing what she thought was a bulletproof alibi. The security cameras captured her shopping at an hour when the store was nearly empty, an image that would later look far more calculated than innocent. She returned home at 3:15, sat in her car, and rehearsed her story. She'd tell them she couldn't sleep and went shopping. When she got back, she found Jake dead. Someone must have broken in while she was gone. She went inside and sat in the dark living room for hours, paralyzed by what she'd done. At dawn, she made coffee, needing something normal, something to steady her shaking hands. At 6:47, she finally called 911, trying to sound like she'd just woken up to discover the horror. But by the time she called for help, she'd already made every mistake that would send her to prison for life. The woman who'd planned everything so carefully, the secret relationship, the deleted texts, the perfect lies, had completely fallen apart when it mattered most. And Detective Sarah Shen would notice every single error. The forensic evidence told a story Rebecca couldn't talk her way out of. Blood splatter on the ceiling and walls showed someone standing over Jake, striking downward repeatedly, attacking someone lying in bed, not defending against an intruder. The autopsy revealed 14 stab wounds, 3 penetrating his heart. Cuts on Jake's palms showed he'd grabbed the blade. The wound angles matched someone of Rebecca's exact height. Jake's phone provided the digital trail. Text messages mentioned his sugar mommy getting crazy. Deleted texts showed Rebecca had sent 47 messages in 2 weeks while Jake responded to only 3. He'd screenshotted bank transfers totaling $180,000, and that unsent draft warning about Rebecca became the prosecution's smoking gun. Financial records completed the picture. $180,000 transferred over 18 months, retirement account drained, equity loan against the lake house, the BMW financed under her name. Every withdrawal matched Jake's demands. Detective Shen interviewed Rebecca for 5 hours. Her story changed 3 times. First, she claimed Jake broke in. Confronted with financial evidence, she admitted helping him as a mentor, but denied any affair. Shown Jake's texts, she admitted the relationship, but claimed it started after graduation. A lie. Then Shen hit her with the timeline. You returned from Whole Foods at 3:15 in the morning. Your 911 call came in at 6:47. That's 3.5 hours, Dr. Martinez. What were you doing for 3.5 hours before calling for help? Rebecca had no answer that made sense. She claimed she'd gone to bed without checking on Jake, but her yoga pants, the one she'd changed into after showering off his blood, had fresh coffee stains. The coffee maker showed a brew cycle at 5:52 a.m. She'd been awake, moving through the house, and she hadn't called for help. Finally, presented with forensics showing Jake was asleep when attacked, Rebecca claimed self-defense. The blood splatter contradicted everything. Rebecca requested a lawyer. But Detective Shen wasn't finished. Digital forensics found chilling searches on Rebecca's laptop. June 2018, how to dispose of body, remote hiking trails, missing person declared dead timeline, days before Jake's murder, teacher-student relationship prison sentence, staged crime scene forensics. Shen began searching for missing persons connecting to Westfield Academy. She found Tyler Brooks, 18, disappeared June 2018, 1 month after graduation. He'd been Rebecca's chemistry student. Bank records showed $47,000 withdrawn during his senior year. His friends said Tyler joked about a sugar mommy teacher but never revealed who. Rebecca's own journal sealed her fate. A 2018 entry read, "T says he's done. I gave him everything. If he tells anyone, I lose everything. I won't let him destroy my life." Rebecca's phone records showed 3 trips to Trinity Alps Wilderness during Tyler's disappearance week. Search teams with cadaver dogs found skeletal remains at the exact GPS location. Dental records confirmed Tyler Brooks. Forensic analysis revealed blunt force trauma to the skull. Only after finding Tyler's body did prosecutors file formal charges. Rebecca Martinez faced 2 counts of murder and sexual misconduct with a minor. At trial, prosecutors established the pattern. She groomed vulnerable students, exploited them financially, and murdered them when they threatened exposure. The jury found her guilty on all counts, life without parole. Today, Rebecca sits in Central California Women's Facility. She maintains Jake was self-defense and Tyler's death was an accident. Prison psychologists diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder. When asked about remorse, she tells therapists, "They don't understand what those boys did to me." Jake's mother, Lisa, told the court she took my son's innocence and then his life. Tyler's parents, who spent 5 years thinking their son abandoned them, finally had answers, but no comfort. The woman everyone called the best teacher at Westfield destroyed 2 families and betrayed every student who ever trusted her. If that story sent chills down your spine, don't forget to like this video. It helps more crime lovers find our channel. Subscribe to Wicked Crime Stories for more dark, twisted tales that feel just a little too real. And if you think someone you know would lose sleep over this story, share it with them. Because around here, betrayal is just the beginning. New stories drop every week, and trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. Stay wicked.